Welcome, everyone, to the SoCal Car Scene Podcast, the exclusive place for coverage of car culture in Southern California and the personalities that drive it. I'm your host, Dean Marash. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a show. Joining us today is Sam Spirer, but first we need to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by our good friends at SoCal Classic Car Storage and C-Tech. Also, we want to remind you that we're now on Patreon. Patreon's a great website that supports independent podcasts like the SoCal Car Scene by helping them with fundraising via subscriptions. If you're an avid listener of these episodes, I'm sure you are, we humbly ask you to consider to become a premier member to our show. In exchange for your support, you'll have access to episodes one day before they premiere, and you'll get to see extended interviews from our guests like Sam and me flubbing up. Sign up today at patreon.com/the SoCal Car Scene or click on the link in the description. And without further ado, let me introduce you to our very, very special guest, Sam Spirer. Sam moved to the West Coast from Boston, Massachusetts 7 years ago and has always been a car enthusiast. About a year after landing in Cali, Sam started Wicked Auto Protection, which is now a highly successful mobile auto detailing and paint restoration protection business for his high-end clients. In his spare time, Sam grew his YouTube channel for auto detailing enthusiasts for both do-it-yourselfers and professionals looking to improve their detailing game. When he's not getting car wash scratches out of cars, he can be found lounging around with his dogs or out on a cruise in his Fiat 124. He's also a major classic car enthusiast and a lover of old-school air-cooled Porsches. Sam, welcome to SoCal Classic Car Scene.
Thanks for having me.
It's been our pleasure. This has been fun, right?
I know.
We had you in our studio yesterday for a practice round. That was a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, practice round, if that's what you want to call it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding? So, hey, a little background on you, dude. You left Beantown for the bright lights of Cali, right? You know, you probably wanted to be an actor like everybody else. But was it the bright lights? Was it the beautiful people? Or was it the cars? I mean, what brings you to Cali all the way from the East Coast?
It was the cold weather. So I did 21 years of cold weather and shoveling snow and getting up at 5 in the morning when there's a blizzard to shovel your car out. So
5
you get to work on
o'clock?
time.
What are you supposed to be doing at 5 o'clock?
It takes you 2 hours to shovel your car out so you can get to work.
Are you kidding?
Sometimes. It's pretty bad over there in the winter sometimes, but you know.
You just got tired of that.
I just got tired of that. I don't like the cold. A good friend of mine moved out here first, and he was just talking about how great it was out here, and
75 every day?
75 every day. That's how it seemed. And that was basically the idea of California that I had in my head at the time. So the weather was going to be perfect in Southern California. And the first place I moved was Santa Clarita. So in the first summer we were there, it was 113 one day. So you
got to learn about terms like high desert and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's
microclimates.
not what I was expecting for sure.
Well, are you happy that you made it to Cali? Look at all the great cars you're around now. And your detailing business, let's face it, you can't find a lot of these cars full-time year-round in Beantown, but there's a lot of nice cars there. But what's the big difference in the scene, on the car scene between SoCal and East Coast? Is it just seasonal, or do you think it has more to do with, the type of cars and, the culture?
We have all of the fun exotic cars that you see on the road every day here, but obviously seasonal. We can only drive them 3 months of the year.
Right.
Same with riding motorcycles too. And obviously Massachusetts is a fraction of the size of California, and I don't think there's quite as much wealth there. So the exotic car and classic car scene is definitely smaller, but there are people who have some pretty phenomenal collections over there. And there is a pretty popular Cars and Coffee at this one car museum that I'm blanking on the name of, that you can see some pretty nice stuff. I'd probably compare this museum to the Marconi Museum over in Irvine.
Nice.
They've got some cool stuff there.
So it's kind of the old cars they're just waiting to be taken out of storage come April or May, whenever this happens. And as soon as they come out, they flood the streets and people go car crazy, people go nuts.
Pretty much, yeah.
Once 6 months or whatever.
Once it's t-shirt weather, that's when cars and bikes start to come out, because there's no more salt and snow on the road, because if you come from the East Coast or anywhere snowy, there's going to be rust on your car. I brought a car over here from the East Coast, and I had it at the shop, and they were highly concerned about just a minor amount of rust on one of my control arms. I'm like, don't worry, it's cool.
It's minor. It hasn't fallen off
Yeah,
yet.
it hasn't gone through, and it's still a whole piece of control arm, so there's no holes there.
So that answers one of my questions. I was thinking there's no way that Fiat of yours drove across the country.
Oh, hell no.
But tell us about that car. I know it's a 124, but I can't pronounce the rest. It's a very unique car, and you showed it to me yesterday. It's bitchin'. But tell everybody a little bit about it, because I know so little about it, too.
So I have a 2018 Fiat 124 Abarth, which is basically a Miata with a Fiat motor in it. So it's on the ND Miata chassis. It has the same Brembo brakes. If you get the big brakes, it has the same Recaro. It's the same interior, essentially, minus the Apple CarPlay. We have a much crappier stereo system. And there's no hardtop option either. And then you have a 1.4 liter turbo under the hood, and in my opinion, the body styling is a lot better.
It is a nice,
but it's a really nice little car. It's not as loud as the 500 Abarth, the little potato cars that are like ridiculously loud for no reason. But I chopped off the muffler and put some Flowmaster tips on there, so it's just straight pipe basically. So it has that nice Abarth grumble, which you really don't hear much. So it's pretty cool because it kind of sounds supercar-ish.
Well, the thing I like about it is it's different, right? I mean, to me, it looks like it's a little bit of a salute to the pony muscle cars of the late 60s with the long deck or the long hood and the short deck.
I really
proportionally,
like that.
I like that proportion.
Yeah, no, I think that's one thing. This is my first rear-wheel drive car that was like a tiny two-seater, so it's weird getting used to like having like not much behind me if I'm switching lanes or whatever. Even though I've been driving it for 3 years, like there's still times I forget how small the car is and how much room, like how you can squeeze into small areas and stuff, and because there's nothing behind you. You don't have to worry about the passenger seats and the rear of the car. So
was it weird not putting your car away in October and November when you first got here and you're like, where do I store this thing, for 5 months? Or is there some automatic thing you start thinking about, like, how do I protect my car?
I never had too much cool stuff back home. I had my first car, which was a 98 Honda Civic. You drive that year round, and it's in half decent shape, but it definitely was rusty under there. And then I had a Subaru WRX, so all-wheel drive was good for snow and stuff. I had the crappiest model you could get, but I modified the bejesus out of it, so it had like 30 grand in engine mods, and it was reasonably fast, but it was a piece of shit and it fell apart nonstop. But it was something I could drive year round.
Yeah, have fun. So how does a tuner like yourself, you don't mind me calling you that, I mean that in a complimentary way.
I don't do that stuff anymore.
Okay, but so to some extent, I mean, you're kind of into this Asian car scene, right? I mean,
I was.
Subarus, right? And then this, technically the Fiat is a hybrid really of a Japanese car and an Italian car, if I think about it. So how does a guy like you with all this, car enthusiasm decide, hey, I'm going to go start a auto detailing business, Wicked Auto Detailing? I mean, what was the moment? Do you remember? And what brings it up?
I actually have to give credit to my friend. His name is Aren, and he owns Templar Wraps in Santa Ana. He was a friend who moved out here first, and he actually had started a vinyl wrap business, doing mobile wraps a little bit before this, and I was looking for something to do because it was getting hard to find a decent job to pay for how expensive it is to live out here.
It is a little
expensive.
He
suggested auto detailing, and so I was like, oh, all right, like washing cars, waxing cars, cool. I could probably do that, and we'll see, where it goes. Probably better than getting a regular job. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but yeah, no, I pretty much owe it to him for getting me started on this.
So is he still pretty influential in the space? Is he?
Yeah, no, we actually work out of his shop sometimes if a customer doesn't have a garage or something. So I'll rent space by the day, and we've always been very competitive with each other too. It's like because we grew up together, and we've always had that. So it's kind of like it's always been like that. Kind of keeps me going because it's like, all right, like I got to do this, and I see what he's doing, and so just like helps to have that like friendly competition. We did have a falling out for a few years out here, but then we just got past it. And
you're from the East Coast, you have to have a falling out, right?
I mean we're pretty blunt passionate to each other, being from the East Coast, and it happens. So
well, the thing I like about your story is really fairly typical of most successful businesses. It's so important to have a mentor. I reached out to a couple of guys that were doing similar things to my business here at SoCal Classic Car Storage, and I didn't know them. I just knocked on the door and said, hey, can we talk a little bit? I'm starting this business and I just need to know, give me some things that you would never do again and give me a couple of things that might help me along. They were so thoughtful, so kind to give me time, and we still stay in touch and we help each other out. And now I've got another gentleman that he runs the same kind of business. I think you might know him, Sean at Autotopia LA. He started about 6 months after I did. So he was here at my launch party, and I've helped him, and we help each other.
Nice.
So I think it's so important, that people are paying it forward, helping people get started, and not treat everybody like competitors. Because, there's really, in most of these markets, room for a lot of, people.
That's what a lot of auto businesses kind of fail to see, is that there are so many people and so many cars.
Yep.
And even though it's cool to be the shop that works on all the exotics and whatever, that's not really what it's about. If you're a business owner, you need to make money. And so you're doing this because it's profitable, not just so you can work on a cool car. So you get a cool car in every once in a while, that's cool. And maybe the guy down the street gets all the exotic cars, but he was probably in business before.
Sure.
There's businesses I could never dream of competing with. They've been around too long. They're already known for that,
Sure.
And people don't really help each other out. A lot of, especially in detailing, everybody's really secretive about what they do. Everybody talks trash on each other.
Wow.
And nobody really wants to help. And that's kind of why I started my YouTube channel, was because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the whole automotive industry, in my opinion, just from various experiences. And when I call around my competition to see like what people are charging and stuff, sometimes I hear some pretty ridiculous information and sales pitches. So I don't like that. I've been burned a lot of times, so I just wanted to have a business that is always like upfront and straightforward. So I put everything that I do online for people to watch,
Right.
so they can see exactly what it is. They might find out how much a product costs me. Like there's no smoke and mirrors with me, and I don't mind educating people. There actually have a few detailers that I talk to almost daily who are new and starting out in California.
Oh, great. So you're paying it forward yourself.
Yeah, they're in the general area, and I like to help them because
Awesome.
especially if I see like potential that they're going to be like they're good at what they do and they're doing it honestly. So I like helping, and then it also opens up opportunities. Like if my employee is on vacation and I need an extra hand, I can hire someone to come in and help.
Right.
And you can pay them a decent wage that they might have made that day anyway, especially if they were starting out and they're new, and then they learn from you.
That's
and
great.
you have help. So yeah, I just like to kind of be friends with everybody. I don't like to have bad blood with people.
Well, good.
And I like to shop honestly, and I have picked my whole team based on just like having great experiences with everyone that works with me in my business, just so we can do the best quality and the best customer service, because
Awesome.
that's where a lot of businesses out here lack too, is customer service.
Sure.
Because it's an interesting state to live in, the attitudes.
You mentioned something that, and I think you used the term misinformation out there, and it relates to detailing. So I think one of the biggest intrigues or mysteries that's still there, even though it's been going on in a while, is this notion of ceramic coating. We still get lots of customers that are in our shop, that store their cars there, that haven't done that. And many of them have. And there's kind of this middle area where folks are ready to stick their toe in it, but they don't know why they need to do it. But there seems to be an intrigue and almost a fear factor. Hey, don't do that yourself. First of all, you really ruin your paint. Second, you got to pay thousands of dollars. And so I think it's between people are afraid to go do it because they've been scared into not. And then there's this worry that if I hire a professional like you, that it's super expensive. Can you shed some light on that? I know ceramics is not new to you, but for a lot of our customers, it's still something they haven't stuck their toe in. Tell us about that.
So, I mean, there's a lot of people who are very skeptical of them because dealerships have been selling stuff like Teflon coatings and stuff, which is, using the term snake oil, that's pretty much what it is, because those things don't last long. They're not applied by professionals. So people have like kind of a bad taste in their mouth just about a coating in general. But ceramic coatings are basically a wax replacement, but it gets talked up to be a lot bigger of a product than it is. So in California, it gets really hot here. Wax stays liquid within the pores when you apply it. So your paint clear coat is really porous. So you apply wax and it fills it in nice and shiny, looks cool. 5 to 10 washes, it's gone. Or it can outgas when it gets too hot. And then you're left with no protection. So ceramic coatings like bond and crystallize within the pores, so you can't wash it off. It's not going to melt in the sun. It helps with like UV protection and stuff. And then for, anywhere from 6 months to there's coatings out there rated for, 5, 6, 7 years, all you have to do is wash your car. And it has that like freshly waxed
How long
look.
will it last? Typical ceramic coated.
So that's up
car.
to, there's two reasons why a coating would fail, which is one, improper paint prep, which a lot of businesses and a lot of do-it-yourselfers do because they don't remove like all of their polishing oils using like a panel prep or something in between. Or they just do the coating install process wrong and they wipe it off too soon or whatever. And the random little things can have effects because like if polishing oils get left beneath the surface and you coat over it, those outgas eventually too. And so that can just kind of push the coating out. But most of the time they fail due to lack of care because it's also, while spending a few $1,000s in some cases, you also have to spend money and time committed to taking care of it. So you have to wash your car, like at least twice a month most of the time. If you drive it every day and you park outside, you probably need to decontaminate and put like a new like spray top coat on every 6 to 9 months.
So how about a customer that has ceramic coated their car and they have it stored with us and they take their car out for, let's say, every other week or every 3 weeks, and then they bring it back? Do they also need to wash their car as frequently?
No.
Because I notice a lot of our customers, we dust their cars in between car washes. The car wash is a very infrequent event.
Yeah.
And then for the most part, they're dusted off. So tell us just a little bit about that.
So like if you store your car, like it's a weekend car or something like that, you don't drive it often, you drive it once a month or whatever, then you could slap a 1-year ceramic coating on your car and it'll probably last you 3 years. If somebody dropped one of their cars off here with a 3-year coating and they didn't pick up their car for 9 years and it just sat inside and you just dusted it off, it would probably be fine because it's not outside picking up contamination and stuff. So yes, elements. So like most customers don't take care of their cars. So when I see them for their annual maintenance, most of them I can tell, and it's like that's barely beading water or anything. But most coatings are like a 1 or a 2-layer system, and sometimes the bottom layer is still there, but the hydrophobic top coat is what's gone, and then that's the layer you would replace like annually. Some companies require that, which makes you think, oh, like it's the only reason it lasts because you put a new top coat on every year, or is this just to make sure that customers don't screw up? But yeah, I mean, I've seen customers who are like wash their car weekly, and they come see me once a year, and their car looks great, and it's been 3 or 4 years now, and everything's fine. But then I have people who come in for a car wash 6 months after getting their coating, and it's done because they just parked outside, they didn't wash it or anything. You have to take care of it. If you're washing it at home, you need to buy all the right stuff. You need to be using deionized water, so you need to get filters for your hose system or your house.
So really, the bottom line is it really depends.
Paying a good car wash guy, because you spend most of the money that you spend is not the coating, it's the polishing, paint correction, swirl removal labor that comes first. That's what we charge for. The coating's like the small part of the job, which a lot of people don't get. We get a lot of calls where I just want to correct my car because I'm going to put my own coating on it, and I'm like, all right, well that's still $1,200. So, like it's the labor is from doing the polishing work, and then some coatings can be difficult to install. Like pro grade is always going to be harder than a consumer grade, and it's always going to last longer and be just like a better quality product in general.
So speaking of investments, I mean, one of the things that we encourage our customers is make sure their batteries are taken care of. And quite honestly, there's only one company that we advocate for, and they're one of our big sponsors. And if you're looking for a smarter way to charge your car's battery, our friends at C-Tech lead the way in the care and maintenance of vehicle batteries. C-Tech's unparalleled knowledge and continuous investment in innovation means they offer high-quality, reliable chargers that are effective, easy to use, and most importantly, safe for the users and their electric car system. The quality of C-Tech's products make them the trusted company of the world's most recognizable car brands, including Audi, Bentley, BMW, Corvette, Ford, Ferrari, Maserati, Mercedes, Porsche, and numerous others. Get yours today at smartercharger.com. Hey, that was a great chat about ceramic coatings. I mean, there's a lot to dive in there. We could spend a whole hour doing that, and I'm sure you do that on a lot of your what's that?
I said more than an hour.
I mean, you probably do that on a lot of your YouTube videos, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But tell us a little bit more about, stuff that's cool. Like, what's the most extreme car collection, Sam, that you've had an opportunity to take care of or go over there and polish up or maintain? I mean, something really cool. You don't have to drop names, but what are we talking about?
Oh, man. I think. Yeah, it's a tough one because I've done so many and I can't remember all of them.
Yeah. All right, give us a couple of cars, maybe.
I mean, some of my favorite is that Turbo 3.6 in your showroom. That was my favorite car ever to work on because, as I say, I like air-cooled Porsche. So
the 964.
When they brought that 964 to me, I was just like, oh, yeah, that was a fun project. I love doing old stuff. Like, new cars are cool, supercars are cool, but doing like actual like classic restoration, because that car did not look that good. I'm really glad to see it still looks as good
it looks
as it
great.
does.
Yeah, I was telling Ron that the other day.
It was
great.
very dull when it came in, and yeah, it was a total transformation. So like that's the kind of stuff I like. And then let's see. I mean, we've done all your typical supercars and
Lambos
some
and
of the
Ferraris and McLarens.
I got to drive a Superformance 950 horsepower Cobra back to our shop, one of my old shops once for Clear Bra. Yeah, just like random stuff. I mean, we don't have any of the people who have like huge collections that we do right now.
Yeah.
But there's definitely people with some cool cars. One of my favorite classics I did recently was a Fiat 2400 Dino, which is there's only 400 of them.
Wow.
And it was when Fiat owned Ferrari, and it's a little Fiat convertible 2-seater, but it has all the body lines of the Ferrari Dino, and it has the Dino wheels that you can't find anymore. And then it had the Ferrari V6 from that time in it as well, and a little Fiat. And so normally that was just a Fiat 2400, but then they had this Fiat 2400 Dino, which had all these properties. It's a badass little car. And
sounds nice.
There's a guy I met at Cars and Coffee who had one, and he was nice enough to let me go over and use it for a video. So that was a nice fun project.
So you were probably admiring that little Fiat Jolly over there in our lounge, that salmon-colored Fiat.
That's a Fiat?
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to figure out what that was yesterday. That's pretty badass.
1958 Jolly. It's got the high performance 3-cylinder engine, which I think is 45 horsepower. So
3 cylinders.
Going downhill, I think, Sam, with the wind behind you, I think we're talking 50 miles an hour.
Wow.
But those are pretty cool, right? And they're really safe too, because you got the wicker seats in there for safety, and they do fold forward, but they are wicker seats. But do you know, when those cars were made, Fiat was the #4 producer of cars in the world. That's how big of a car manufacturer they were in the 50s.
That's funny because, I mean, obviously the Fiat 500 is probably like pretty commonly purchased, but they're also like the most underrated, or they're the lowest rated company now, that as far as reliability goes. And then also they keep like saying they're going to leave and then come back, and because they can't sell enough cars. Like that's why I like my 124, because nobody buys the damn thing, so no one has one.
It's kind of like Alfa Romeo a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But, so do you ever, going back to detailing, right, which is what you're all about, this whole wicked thing, do you ever get wicked nervous? I mean, so we have an extensive collection of cars. You've seen them here. Mm-hmm. And people ask us all the time, like, hey, are you nervous when you move those cars? Are you nervous when you manage those cars? We've been doing it for so long. The answer is no, and the reason why is because we treat all those cars the exact same way. If it's a daily driver, we give it the same care that, you know, the other car does. But what's your response to that?
That's basically the same. Obviously, you know, moving cars around versus like polishing paint and, you know, doing things you could potentially burn or break something.
Yeah, right.
It's way different. When I started, and for the first few years, I definitely got really nervous. But then once I kind of figured out like each car and like the extent that you can realistically take most of those cars to, like, it's just all putting your hands on it and just figuring it out. You know, we've obviously made mistakes in the past. I've burnt paint on classic cars a couple times before, but you know, we just take precautions. We measure paint, make sure there's enough there, which isn't always accurate either. Sometimes it says it has a lot of paint on there, and then you brush over it with a foam pad and it burns right through, you know, just for no reason. But now it's just kind of like, I like them and I get excited to work on them. So you just take note of any little quirks or anything that's not just like hanging off or whatever. You just had to go over the car with the customer, and after that, it's fine. So the nerve-wracking has gone away, and you know, when you make mistakes, you just take care of them, because everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
So.
Well said. So tell us about how that plays into your YouTube channel. Like, you probably have a lot of stuff content, and I've seen your YouTube channel. It's great content. I saw in one of your videos where you actually had that paint gauge. It was digital and was telling you how thick the paint was. So is that, you must get a lot of positive feedback from people that watch that YouTube channel, because they don't, like you said, typically detailers aren't giving out the keys to the kingdom to help people do it themselves. So are you getting a lot of positive feedback?
Yeah, I get a lot of positive feedback from both professionals and from people who just do it themselves, because I like to mentor professionals too. I'm very good at marketing and the whole business aspect of it, so it's fun to teach other people those skills, and then it just kind of hardwires it into my brain so I don't forget it myself. And then everybody is like, oh, I didn't know that, or thanks for being upfront about that. It's like they get to see like what's real, and also like when you're doing too much. A lot of detailers do too much, and like they're doing more than customers even notice. And it's just something that you develop mentally that you notice. So you have to kind of move past this like perfectionist mindset, because you end up doing more and wasting time and stuff. And so I like to help people realize like you don't have to go all the way all the time, to make a customer happy.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, we get generally
So
good feedback.
what was the impetus behind starting the YouTube channel? At some point, did you say, look, I want to help others? Or, what was the impetus?
After when I dumped my last shop and went back to being mobile, I was just working on a customer's car in Beverly Hills, and I'd noticed their coating wasn't doing that great, and probably because they didn't take care of it. And so I just decided right there I was just going to make a video about just an honest opinion of ceramic coatings and the differences between the 1,000 different brands that there are and stuff, which there's really not much difference, and like how it really works. So I made that and I posted it on Facebook, and someone just said, you should put this on YouTube, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll give this a try. And then it just kind of went from there. And first I was posting every single day, because it took me a while to get comfortable on camera and figure out editing and various things, and then it went down to 3 times a week instead. So, but now after just a year, I monetized, and I'm very comfortable on camera, whereas last year I wouldn't even talk on camera like I had.
Wow, I've watched your videos. You would never know that you're uncomfortable, and they're great. They're really informative. If you haven't been out there and checked it out, you've got to go out. Why don't you go ahead and tell us where to find your YouTube channel? It's great.
So just go on YouTube and search Wicked Auto Protection. The Wicked Auto Protection channel will pop up, and I have over 200 educational videos on there. And once a week now, we release a 20 to 30 minute video doing a classic car restoration, and then the other 2 days are filled with other random detailing videos, business and marketing advice, and stuff like that.
Awesome. And you're not worried about individuals kind of competing with you if you've trained them well enough and they're really disciples? Obviously that arguably could take away business, but do you think that you're paying it forward and that comes back to you in other ways? How do you look at it?
A lot of people think they want to start a business, and then they start one and they realize this is a lot harder. It takes a lot to run a business. It's a real mindset you have to have, and it's not for everyone. I hear all the time that detailers are often really unreliable, and so they don't show up, or they don't want the work, or I see lots of businesses struggle because they don't want to put the money out for marketing to really grow their business or go in the right direction, because they're just trying to do enough to pay their bills, and they're too scared to take a risk. If you're an entrepreneur, it's all about risk taking. But I also don't worry about competition, because like I said, there's millions of cars here, and then also people know that people obviously know I'm helping people and stuff, and I have a good reputation, so I'm not worried about being able to keep up, because we've stayed in business this long with all the competition that there is already. And detailing is the easiest business to get into. I even have a video about how to start a rinseless car wash business, because for about $1,200 you can start washing and vacuuming cars, doing it mobile, including legal stuff. So it's pretty easy to start a detailing business. There's new detailers every day. It's going to be that way for a while.
Well, I'd like to tell you that it only costs $1,200 to start a car storage business, and it's real simple, but that's not quite true. But I have helped a couple, mentored them, so I'll be honest with them, and they've been honest with me. But listen, we really want to thank our other sponsor, SoCal Classic Car Storage. Our facilities here in this lovely city of Laguna Hills offer secure white glove vehicle storage, and extensive concierge services. In addition to storage, our expert sales staff offers consignment services for those looking to sell their cars. For more information, visit us in Laguna Hills or find us at SoCalCarStorage.com or Facebook.com/SoCalCarStorage. So we talked about ceramics and we've talked about some of these new products, and there's a lot of confusion out there. And I think it even gets more complicated because of the new cars that are coming out. So here's where things collide and get a little bit weird for me and maybe for my customers. Okay, you saw a new C8 in our shop, and we've got about 2 of those now, and I think there's a total of 3 that our customers have. So we got a customer who bought a new C8, had the whole thing clear wrapped, and then when he brought it in, he said he had ceramic coated or clay on top of the wrap, and I'm like, is that possible? You know, or would you put it on top of the paint and then wrap it? So help me out. Why would you go do that if you've got a clear on top of brand new paint? Help us understand what the right way to do that is and why people might do that.
So yeah, no, you put Clear Bra on first.
Okay.
It's not going to stick on top of ceramic coating because it's so slick.
Okay.
And then Clear Bra turns yellow or matte and loses and discolors as time goes by because it's a piece of plastic you're sticking on the car, and it gets really hot here in SoCal. So even if your film is warranted for 7 or 10 years, chances are in the hands of the average consumer, it's only going to last you about 2 or 3 years before it turns yellow, usually because people don't take care of them. So with Clear Bra, like I mentioned earlier, with waxing paint, something you got to do monthly. So if you don't put ceramic coating on your Clear Bra and your car is not garaged like nonstop and you only drive it once a month or whatever, you need to be waxing or sealing the film once a month, or you can put a ceramic coating on. There's PPF and vinyl specific coatings because PPF and vinyl are really porous, so they absorb a lot of product. So if I was to put a car paint coating on top, it'll work, but a lot of the product's going to absorb. So probably within 4 months, it'll stop beating water. So they have PPF and vinyl specific coatings, which are thicker. So when you apply them, it doesn't just absorb. But most of those only last about a year. There are some companies that claim to have like 2, 3, 5 years, but I've never seen any coating on film last more than a year.
So Sam, makes sense what you just said, right? But you can see that we've got a lot of exotic cars out in our facility. A lot of Porsches, a lot of Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens. I just don't think too many of those people, and most all of them, have either a wrap on the front end, halfway through the car is fairly typical, either the hood, you know, and the bumper and maybe the mirrors, or some wrap halfway, or some wrap the whole thing like this customer. But I don't think the vast majority of them know that you need to care for that clear wrap, like you just
This goes
said.
back to misinformation and smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
So a lot of detail shops install Clear Bra, and most of us are pretty educated on it.
Right.
But there's also shops that just install Clear Bra or just install vinyl, and they have no idea how to care for their products other than what the manufacturer tells them. And the manufacturer oftentimes doesn't have any idea, or they make some crappy product that doesn't really work to maintain it. So, but some places know, and they just don't say anything because that's their business, and they don't, some people don't believe in ceramic coatings. There's some old guys or older film installers who think that ceramic coatings make the film turn yellow faster, which I think a few years ago there were some coatings out there that did have that effect, but I haven't ever had that issue with any customer cars. But yeah, so a lot of people don't know that, so they might just go get their car wrapped at a shop that only does paint protection film, or they even usually adding coating onto film afterwards is relatively cheap compared to just doing it on a painted car because you don't need to polish or anything, and it might be $500 to $1,000 on top of your already really expensive wrap. That's if you're doing the whole car. So like if you've got the whole car wrapped, it'd probably be $500 to $1,000 to coat the whole thing, which isn't that much extra to now preserve it. It's like you got paint protection for your car, but now you need protection for your paint protection. I tell people that a lot.
Protection squared,
like you have to really commit to caring for all this stuff. There's no solution that's just going to permanently protect your car. People want to keep their shit looking perfect, but you can't.
So
especially if you bought the car to drive it. Like I never put any, I put a ceramic coating, like the cheapest one I had on my car, because I knew I was going to thrash the crap out of it. And that's what I do. I drive it. But we get these guys who are like, I don't want to get any chips. I don't want anything. And they drive their car 2,000 miles a year or less. And it's like, well, why did you buy the car? And why are you spending all this money on it if you're not even going to use it?
Well, I think a lot of folks are spent out, if you will, after they bought their C8 and they paid $15,000 over invoice, and maybe they got their windows tinted. So, but if there was another piece of advice, I thought that was great advice on ceramics and wraps, and then treating the wrap, the clear bra or wrap on top of the car. So this is awesome news, you know, for a lot of people that are listening. But is there any other piece of general advice about detailing that you would give to people that are kind of do-it-yourselfers? If you had one piece of advice, what's the thing that they need to know and or be careful of?
That's there's a lot of information. So I would say to educate yourself. However, you have to be careful where you educate yourself, because there's dozens of detailers on YouTube, which is where most people start, and there's lots of wrong information on YouTube too, and there's lots of wrong information given out by professionals in some of the training schools and stuff that they have. So I mean, without meaning to self-promote, like I don't trust anyone other than my own knowledge. So I would check out my channel if you're interested in getting started, because like you'll at least know that you're getting pointed in the right direction. But there is a lot of information. When I started this, I knew nothing compared to what I knew now.
So how much time do you think it will take them to get fairly proficient, and how much money is this going to cost them? I guess it depends on whether they're going to ceramic or traditional wax, but high level.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do to your car. You know, if you're trying to do paint correction and polishing, I mean, and you don't have anything to start with, you're probably looking, at like $1,000 in material and, getting a decent polisher and the right pads and products, because the good stuff is expensive. So there's quite a bit of stuff you've got to buy. If you're just trying to wash your car and do the interior every now and then and hand wax it, you've only got to buy a bucket and a pressure washer. You can do rinseless wash. Like there's so much stuff out there, and there's different ways to do everything also. So,
all right. Well, the bottom line is I got to go see Wicked on Instagram and YouTube, more importantly, where they can see the complete videos. But you got a great Instagram page, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Okay, but we love what you're doing out there. So let's talk about another aspect of car maintenance and car care, if you will. And there's raging debate about this one, dusters. And we have that debate because I've got a good friend, John, who's also a really good detailer. And we have extensive conversations about these dusters. They tell us right in the instructions, the dirtier the better, that, hey, it collects dirt, don't be afraid of that. We've got the paraffin, and that grabs all the dust molecules and holds them in place. Don't wash that, whatever you do. And so the real question out there is, A, should your average Joe and maybe a shop like mine be using dusters? And if so, how should we be using dusters? And how do we know when a duster is ready for the garbage can? I don't advocate washing them, because I've seen what happens when you wash them. But I want to know from your expertise.
My rule for dusters: if I find them in a customer's car, they get a phone call immediately and it goes in the dumpster. Those will scratch the crap out of your paint. Lots of people can't see swirls and marring because they don't know what to look for, or a lot of older gentlemen have those dusters and their eyes just maybe aren't what they used to be, especially with and they aren't educated on this. So swirls and scratches come from dragging dirt and dust across your clear coat, and that's all you're doing with that. Some people claim, oh, they're soft and it's picking up dust, but no, it'll mar your paint like nearly every time. So I would not suggest using one of those at all, and I've seen some pretty nasty ones in people's cars too. On like say you had a car that was had a matte or satin paint finish from the factory, that's okay. Same with like a matte or satin vinyl wrap. And I guess because Clear Bra is self-healing, if a car is fully wrapped, you could do that. But honestly, those dusters are a nightmare for paint. And
what do you recommend instead? Microfiber towels?
Yeah.
What are you using as a professional?
There is no way to like dust a car without marring it up. Like you can't like swirl free everything. Yeah. But what's more efficient for like a quick like wipe down would be soft microfiber towels and like a waterless wash, at least, because you spray the panel, spray the towel, so you've got lubrication, you wipe it, and then you flip sides of the towel, you spray the other side and move on. That way you're not dragging
Spray
dirt.
it with what?
the waterless wash chemical.
Oh, okay, the chemical.
So yeah,
okay.
you got a little bottle of waterless wash, and you spray the panel to wet the panel and agitate the dirt, and then you spray your towel so the towel is lubricated. You give it a wipe, and then you flip to the dry side and dry it, and then if the wet side is dirty, you can fold the towel so you have a new fresh side and move on to the next area. You could, once you get comfortable with it, you could probably wipe most cars now, especially if it's just garage dust like you have here, probably in like 15 minutes or less, and it would be safer in the long run for the paint. And then really realistically, I mean, you have to wash cars the right way. I mean, the towels that I use cost the average consumer, like retail, $50 for 10 towels. And those aren't even the softest. There's ones that are softer, but these ones I've just found work fine for everything. I sell them to my customers too, to make sure they can get the right stuff and find them.
So, you know, talking about washing a car, if a car is kept in a garage, and here in Southern California, that's why you came here, was people told you it never rained, the cars never got wet, and we don't have any bugs, so you really don't wash your car that often. But
no bugs.
I still wash my car once a week because, you know, once in a while I'll see a bug in my windshield or whatever, but I still wash my car every week. What's your advice for frequency of washing? And if your car's garage, how often do you really need to wash it if you're dusting it off properly in the method you're talking about? You know, some advice there.
Well, first, Dean, if you rarely get bugs on your car, I would say you're pretty lucky, because almost every car I wash is covered in bugs. So I don't know about no bugs in California.
Well, that's the lie we tell everybody. So when we're trying to tell them there's no bugs, right, and it's 75 degrees every day, it's sunny, right?
So as far as like washing frequency, if your car is a garage queen, like there's so many different circumstances. Like if your car is ceramic coated, the paint stays cleaner looking longer, which is what a lot of customers tell us. And then like I said before, if you only drive the car once or twice a month, you don't need to maybe you don't even need to wash it every month. Maybe you wash it every 2 months because it didn't pick up that much grime, or you went out on a nice day and it didn't really get that dusty. So it depends on the level of dirt. Also, because I mean, if there's a lot of dirt.
But if it's in a garage and you're not driving it very frequently, washing it every couple months is probably okay.
Yeah, if it's like a car here, like if one of these cars sat for 3 months and didn't get dusted off even or anything, like a car wash would be fine. Most of that dust would probably just fall right off the car when you hit it with a pressure washer, because it's not like sticking to it. But road grime sticks to the car, and you've got the bee pollens and bird poops and stuff. So
I hate that.
That's the stuff that is contamination, and will start to make the paint feel rough, which is around the time when you'd want to clay it and remove contamination. So in a garage, you're not picking that up. So like if you drive the car once a month and it only sees outside once a month, then you might not need to. The more you wash your car and touch it, the more chances you have of swirling your finish too. Like there's no, it's an endless like tail chase.
Well, I can tell you right now, there's one thing that bothers me more than you know, a bug on the windshield or a bug on that front bumper around here, and that's that bird poop and bee pollen and, you know, all those fly crap. There's stuff, you know, you park a car outside for about 5 minutes, maybe 10, and there's some little yellow things on there. It drives me bananas. But, you know, I'm sure you're used to that. But
oh, yeah. Since we work outside sometimes, being mobile, sometimes we wash the car, and by the time we're around it, there's already a bee pollen or something somewhere else on the car, or a layer of dust. And even when you're working inside, like black cars, they just instantly attract dust. So we'll finish the car, it'll be beautiful, and then come in the next morning and just any dust in the air is settled on the car, and it looks terrible.
Hey, so we do have a car wash service that comes in here and supports our clients every Friday. And after a while, when you're in this business, and they're remote as well, you've got some horror stories. So let's have a little bit of fun with your horror story. Here's their horror story. They go out to a client that they've been servicing for a long time, and the guy's got some dogs. And so, you know, he says, hey, come on into the house. You know, I want to pay you. So he walks into the house. Well, this big dog, I can't remember what kind of dog it was. Like you know, it was a mean dog. And the dog, you know, he really, you know, he turned around as fast as he could, hightailed it for his car, but he didn't quite get there. And the dog, you know, bit him really hard. And it was kind of a scary situation. The guy's back working and all that other stuff. But you got any of those horror stories like that where, you know, you're just there, you think you're doing a job, and next thing you know, you're under attack by some trained dogs or whatever?
Nah, I mean, I'm an animal lover myself, and If you
could handle
with dogs, like this is just random. Like animals smell fear. If you just act like you're supposed to be there, they don't care. You could be the meanest dog in the world, and he'll like look at you confused when you're just like ignoring him, trying to rip your throat out. Okay. So it's just the kind of thing I've noticed.
Okay, so you know how to handle it. But did you see that video the other day about that cougar that guy saw on the trail?
I just saw it.
That cougar put his paws out like this, like 3 or 4 times in like a horizontal fashion. I've never seen.
Yeah, I saw like a meme of it. I haven't seen the actual footage.
You got to see the footage.
Crazy.
It's crazy the way that the animal kind of contorted itself to make itself bigger. It was fascinating.
Yeah,
you got to see that
that's
video.
something I worry about running. So I like trail running, and it's like there's mountain lion spottings all the time, Mission Viejo and Santiago Canyon and stuff. So I'm just like, oh great, like should I carry a big knife with me? Because I ain't gonna strangle no mountain lion with my bare hands like that other guy.
You just got to get big. Just get bigger, Sam. So, do you ever prepare vehicles for auctions and babysit cars in preparation for auctions or at the auctions? I know there's pretty good business in that, and we've never really taken the opportunity to take a car to an auction because it's so time consuming. I mean, we just don't have the time to take 2 or 3 days, go to an auction, hang out with a car and promote it. But have you done some of that work?
Not really. I once prepared an older Corvette for Mecum Auto Auction like a few years ago, and then back when I started, I used to get a lot of like SEMA cars and stuff, but once I got a shop, I stopped getting stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I don't go out to things like that either. So I'm more of just like work and go home kind of guy. So I've never been to a car auction myself actually. And then I haven't been to SEMA in years because it was just a waste of a week for me pretty much.
It is a long week. It's a grind.
And it's the same thing every year. Every car, maybe it's a different car, but it's the same general build, the same parts companies, the same everything, in my opinion. So.
Well, for me, the attraction isn't quite as strong for others. We're here with a lot of amazing cars here at SoCal Classic, and we see them every day. And,
yeah, exactly.
We've seen some incredible builds. Now, SEMA and some of these auctions have great builds. I'm not saying they don't, but the allure or the attraction isn't as strong. And I'm sure the same is true for you because, after a while, you've seen a lot of amazing
I've seen them all. Like occasionally there'll be something I'm like highly interested in, just like mechanically, because I did go to school for auto mechanics and I was very book smart with it. So I could tell you endless stuff about how stuff works, but I don't like doing it. But there was one year like an old RX-7 that had been converted to all-wheel drive, and I was like fascinated at how they were able to like build that and convert it. But when I went that year, it wasn't like fully ready yet. It was there, but it wasn't like together, so you couldn't really see how things work. Yeah. So I was like kind of mad. Like, but there might be like, there's usually at least like one car I'm like interested because someone did do something mechanically like really cool. Especially like I love JDM classics. Like, so if I like, there's something like old RX-7 that someone's done something really crazy with, like that really interests me. But like, a newer car with $25,000 wheels and a $100,000 carbon fiber body kit on it, it's whatever.
All right, so you got an opportunity to tell us what is the most misunderstood thing about auto detailing. I mean, what's the biggest misconception about what you do and the profession in general?
Probably how much knowledge goes into it. A lot of people think that, he's just a car washer, but that's not it. And our profession is very undervalued by a lot of people. Everyone's always trying to bargain with us on pricing. They don't understand why it costs them $300 or whatever, but it's actually really intense labor. And we work a lot harder than some people who went to school and got a degree and work at a desk job or engineering firm or something, and they make 6 figures, but they don't work as hard. So we work really hard, and even though it's not something you need to go to college for, there's a lot of knowledge behind it, especially with paint correction and the coatings. Like there's a lot of science. So it's not just washing cars, and which even that is miserable work in itself sometimes. It sucks when you're doing mobile detailers and mobile car wash guys. I feel bad for the ones who only charge like $25, $30 because it takes if you want to do a solid car wash that no one's going to complain about, it takes about an hour. And so that's
I was going to guess 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, by myself, if I'm by myself, sometimes an hour and a half. If I'm with my employee, it's like 30 to an hour, depending on the car.
But they're paying for your expertise as much as anything
so
else.
People really
you
don't
get what you pay for, basically.
Yeah, you get what you pay for goes without saying for everything in the automotive industry, detailing especially. Like, his pricing's all over the place. There's a guy who says he's doing what I do, the same quality for half price, but how can he undervalue himself and put that much time into it? And then like with Clearbra, I hear crazy quotes like to realistically to wrap a full car, like a sedan, you want it seamless, which means we have to disassemble things, take door handles off so we can, lay everything under so there's no cuts around it. Like, that's like $8 or $9 grand. But then there's someone saying that there's another shop doing it for $4,000, and it's like, well, if they're actually using premium film and they're going to take the amount of time it actually takes to do that, they're not making any money. So either they're using a different film and telling you it's something else, or like
cutting a lot of corners.
Or they're cutting a lot of corners. Yeah. And because that's also the thing, like, there's so many different variations of how things can be done. Like with films, there's pre-cuts that leave seams showing. There's pre-cuts that wrap around the edges. And there's custom cutting where you custom cut everything yourself, which is what we do. And so, like, the pricing and stuff is all over the place. So everybody just gets confused, and then it just ruins basically the industry is pretty much ruined, I would say. Because there's just no way to tell like who's doing it legit.
It sounds like what you're saying is there's no substitute for expertise and putting in the time. I mean, there's no shortcuts really.
But that's the main misconception, is that detailing is like simple work, like, anybody could do it, but it's not. There's a lot of knowledge and science behind all the products and very intense labor. Like, I've had a lot of employees over the years, and some of them don't last a week because they can't detail 2 cars or 3 cars in a day. Like, we're just doing basic stuff, and it's like
they're exhausted,
Yeah. But you gotta be in shape too. Like, unless you want to waste time and money, because you can hustle. Like, we move faster than most people because we've been doing it for so long. We're in shape and we do it every day. And there's guys who take like 3 days to do what we do in 8 hours. So.
Well, thanks. I think you've dispelled the biggest myth that's out there, and that sounds consistent with what we know. I mean, everybody wants to negotiate. Everybody wants a discount, but I still believe you get what you pay for. And when you're running a service business, a customer service-oriented business like yourself, I think you got to deliver and exceed expectations. And I know you do. I've seen your work. I've watched your videos. So speaking of those videos, how do people reach out and find you? Instagram, YouTube, website, all that stuff. They're going to have a lot of questions for you and want to learn more. Tell us.
Well, I have lots of different outlets. So I'll start with YouTube, which you can search Wicked Auto Protection. My channel should pop right up. My website for Wicked is wickedautoprotection.com. You can check out information on the products I sell and what I do there. And then you can always contact me. My email is sam@wickedautodetailing.com. Very open to answering questions. It might take me a little while if I'm busy, but I will get back to you. And then my Facebook is facebook.com/wicked details if you want to check me out on there also.
How come you don't say wicked in the style of the Bostonian accent? I did not hear that.
Because I have parents who are from Connecticut, so there was no Boston accent. And I'm sure I'm going to offend any East Coast listeners, but it's been my experience with most of my friends who have Boston accents that they tend to be a little less bright than some of the other
you're
people.
In trouble now. I can't believe you went there. But that's
it does
good.
Come out. If I drink and I get going, you'll hear me say it. You'll hear my accent come out.
I'm still thinking about that Super Bowl commercial. Wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
Smart pack.
We like to say wicked pissa and random shit like that.
So you can do it if you have to.
Yeah, I can do it.
All right.
It's like Matt Damon, overdoing it pretty much. I can only overdo my accent. I can't just do it like how some might normally sound.
Well, I want to thank you, Sam. That was a great ride. We appreciate you being down here today at the shop here at SoCal Classic Car Storage. And really, for those of you watching us today, don't forget all of our episodes on our YouTube channel, the SoCal Car Scene. Remember, that's all separate words. Where you can see videos of our awesome guests like Sam and, of course, yours truly. Please watch, follow, most importantly, subscribe, because you never want to miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to these episodes, please go to all of your favorite podcast platforms like Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, Google Play, and the SoCal Car Storage /media page. Once again, thank you so much for listening and watching. And that's a wrap.